Welcome to another deep dive. May your day be deeply blessed, and may the week ahead bring you a profound sense of clarity and purpose as we jump straight into today's mission.
Thank you. It is really great to be here.
So, today we are taking a magnifying glass to chapter 5 of the book of Exodus, and we're drawing on the historical, cultural, and theological insights from two incredibly robust Portuguese sources,
Right. The Holman Study Bible and the Nova Almeida Atualizada.
or the NAA Study Bible, yeah.
Exactly.
And the reason we're doing this is because we really want to bypass the standard, Sunday school summary of this text.
Because it's so much more than that.
It really is. When you actually pull back the layers of this specific chapter, it reads like a high-stakes political thriller.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, this is a tense, calculated standoff where the entire balance of geopolitical power is just being radically challenged.
That framing completely changes how we approach the text. We aren't just looking at a fable here. We are examining a highly complex clash of authorities.
Two heavyweights in a room.
Yeah, the historical context provided by the scholarship in both of these Bibles reveals two entirely different worldviews colliding in real time.
And the psychological warfare that erupts from that collision is startlingly sophisticated.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider the ancient setting, right?
It's incredibly sophisticated.
Yeah, so let's get right into the throne room. Moses and Aaron walk into the court of Pharaoh.
The most powerful man on earth at the time.
Right. And they deliver an incredibly bold demand. They say, "Thus says the Lord, God of Israel, let my people go so that they may hold a festival for me in the wilderness."
Just walking right in and dropping that.
Yeah. They ask for a 3-day journey to offer sacrifices. And they even add this thinly veiled threat that failure to comply might bring plague or the sword.
Which is incredibly dangerous.
Right. So wait, if Pharaoh views himself as a living god, why would he even let two representatives from an enslaved population finish their sentence?
Let alone not executing them on the spot.
Exactly, for breaching protocol.
Well, that is the crucial tension of the scene. To understand why they weren't immediately killed, we have to look at the specific diplomatic language they weaponized.
Weaponized diplomatic language. I like that.
The NAA study materials actually break down that opening phrase, "Thus says the Lord."
Which to a modern ear just sounds like standard religious phrasing.
Right, almost a cliche, But in the ancient Near East, this was a highly specific messenger formula.
A messenger formula.
Yeah. It was the strict, universally recognized protocol used by international envoys. When a diplomat used that phrase, they were legally and spiritually appropriating the authority of the sovereign who sent them.
Oh, wow.
So the messenger's personal status just vanished, and the sender's voice was considered to be physically in the room.
Okay, let's unpack this. By using the messenger formula, Moses and Aaron are basically claiming diplomatic immunity.
Precisely.
They aren't walking in as Hebrew slaves asking for a favor. They're essentially staging a diplomatic summit.
Yes, speaking with the assumed absolute authority of a rival sovereign king.
But was there any precedent for this? I mean, would subservient groups ever get time off for a religious festival, or was the mere concept completely offensive to the Egyptian state?
Well, according to the Holman notes, subservient groups and labor forces in ancient Egypt were actually sometimes granted time off.
Really?
Yeah, to worship their specific regional deities. There was a historical precedent for what we might call religious holidays.
So the festival itself wasn't the problem.
No, the issue wasn't the festival. The issue was the framing. Moses and Aaron didn't present a petition to a benevolent ruler.
They gave an order.
Exactly. They framed the request as a direct, non-negotiable order from a superior deity directed specifically at Pharaoh.
Which is wild.
In a cultural context where Pharaoh is considered the divine mediator between the gods and the earth, receiving an order from an unknown foreign god is a massive, unthinkable political insult.
It's a complete subversion of the hierarchy.
Total subversion.
And Pharaoh's response is just a masterclass in dismissal. He shoots back, "Who is the Lord that I should obey his voice and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, and moreover, I will not let Israel go."
It's a total shutdown.
Yeah, but the scholarship suggests this isn't just arrogance, it's a specific rhetorical strategy, isn't it?
What's fascinating here is that Pharaoh isn't asking a genuine theological question.
Right.
Both the Holman and NAA notes clarify this. When he asks, "Who is the Lord?" He isn't requesting background information on a new deity.
He's not curious.
Not at all. This is a calculated rhetorical insult. He is declaring that this god is a nobody, totally devoid of any jurisdiction over the Egyptian empire.
He's completely rejecting Yahweh's authority and his claim of superiority.
But in doing so, he introduces a specific motif that will dominate the rest of the narrative.
You're referring to the motif of knowing.
Yes.
The NWA commentary points out that Pharaoh's arrogant declaration, I do not know the Lord, inadvertently sets up the central dramatic irony for the entire Exodus event.
It really does. It isn't a throwaway line.
Right. The coming plagues, the decimation of the Egyptian economy, the dismantling of their pantheon of gods, all of it will serve one highly specific, targeted purpose.
To answer his question.
Exactly. It is designed to force Egypt, and Pharaoh in particular, to finally and unequivocally know exactly who the Lord is.
His claim of ignorance becomes the very mechanism of his downfall. He demands proof of this God's authority, and that proof will systemically dismantle his empire.
It's incredible. But Pharaoh doesn't just stop at a verbal insult.
No, he escalates.
He immediately escalates the situation into brutal physical and psychological retaliation. Rather than entertaining the idea of a 3-day religious festival, Pharaoh accuses the Israelite labor force of being idle.
Calling them lazy.
Yeah. He orders the slave drivers and the Israelite foremen to stop providing straw for the brick-making process, while simultaneously demanding they produce the exact same daily quota of bricks.
Which is it's devastating.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because this isn't just a mythic detail invented for dramatic effect.
Right. The NWA notes bring in some fascinating archaeology here.
Yeah, it grounds this deeply in historical reality. If you look at the 15th century BC tomb of Rekhmire, located in Thebes, there is a massive detailed mural.
And it explicitly depicts this exact type of brick fabrication process in ancient Egypt.
It shows laborers hauling water from a pool, digging up alluvial mud, mixing it with chaff or chopped straw, packing it into wooden molds, and leaving them to bake in the hot Egyptian sun.
The inclusion of straw was a critical chemical and structural component.
How so?
Well, the humic acid in the straw made the mud more plastic and easier to mold. Plus, it prevented the bricks from shrinking and cracking as they dried.
So it was essential.
Absolutely essential. By forcing the laborers to go scavenge for their own stubble across the fields while maintaining the exact same production target, Pharaoh is taking a system that was already agonizing and making it logistically impossible.
He's deliberately setting them up to fail. And the terminology used in the ancient text highlights the cruelty of this system. The Holman study notes point out the phrase, the task of the day in its day.
Right. It wasn't just a casual make as many bricks as you can situation.
Not at all. The Egyptian overseers utilized a highly oppressive, meticulously controlled production tracking system. It is essentially ancient, weaponized micromanagement.
And the intention behind this micromanagement was total systemic exhaustion.
To break them.
Exactly. Pharaoh explicitly states his strategy. Make the work so heavy, so completely all-consuming, that the people will have absolutely no time or energy to pay attention to what he calls words of a lie.
Meaning the promises of deliverance that Moses brought.
Yes. It is a calculated tactic of oppression. If you keep a population physically drained and perpetually terrified of failing their daily metrics, they literally cannot afford to hope.
Because hope requires mental margin.
That's it. Hope requires margin, and Pharaoh was systematically draining every ounce of margin they possessed.
The psychological warfare is incredibly dark, but it is a recognizable tactic of control that still exists in various forms today.
Very much so.
Keep people so focused on surviving the immediate quota that they can't lift their heads to look at the horizon.
Just keep them looking down at the mud.
And the tragic fallout of this strategy happens almost immediately. The unity of the Israelites just shatters. We see the Israelite foremen caught in an impossible position between the Egyptian slave drivers and their own people.
And when the quotas inevitably aren't met, these foremen are brutally beaten.
Right. And in their desperation, those beaten foremen appeal directly to Pharaoh.
They bypass Moses and Aaron completely.
They go right to the architect of their suffering. And the language they use during this appeal reveals a deeply poignant identity crisis, which the NAA notes highlight.
It's heartbreaking, really.
As they stand bleeding in the court, they repeatedly refer to themselves as Pharaoh's servants. They ask, why do you treat your servants this way?
Which is a stark contrast to how God referred to them.
Right. Is that just internalized oppression, or is it a calculated survival tactic? Because earlier, Moses explicitly used God's language. let my people go,
Yes, God claims them as his own.
offering a restored identity as a sovereign nation. Yet the foremen don't claim that new identity at all.
It is likely a mixture of both survival tactic and internalized oppression. But the psychological result is the same.
Which is?
The oppression has been so deeply woven into their psyche that in their absolute lowest moment, they still identify themselves primarily through their relationship to their abuser.
Wow.
They see themselves as Pharaoh's property, pleading for the bare minimum of humane treatment within an inherently inhumane system.
And of course, Pharaoh coldly rejects their plea,
He calls them lazy again.
reinforcing his reality over theirs. And because Pharaoh shuts them down so completely, they have to find a scapegoat.
Someone to blame.
They walk out of the royal court and they run straight into Moses and Aaron. The foremen turn all of their terror, anger, and despair directly onto the very men who came to liberate them.
They actually invoke the Lord to judge Moses.
Yeah, and the cultural weight of the insult they hurl at Moses is staggering. They accuse Moses of making their scent repellent or a stench to Pharaoh.
The Holman notes really dig into this metaphor. In ancient Egyptian culture, scent was deeply tied to the divine and to royal favor.
Like incense and perfumes.
Exactly. The pharaohs were associated with the sweet smell of the gods, often depicted offering incense. To be labeled a stench wasn't just about bad hygiene.
It meant being completely cut off.
Yes, cut off from divine and royal favor. It was a social and political death sentence.
They tell Moses that he has effectively handed Pharaoh a sword to kill them. In their eyes, Moses isn't a hero. He is the direct cause of their imminent destruction.
They preferred the predictable misery of the old system over the lethal chaos of this attempted liberation.
Which pushes Moses to his absolute breaking point. He doesn't argue with the foreman. He turns away and goes straight back to the Lord.
And his prayer is remarkably raw and accusatory.
He demands, "Why have you brought trouble on this people? Why did you ever send me since I came to speak in your name? He has brought trouble to this people, and you have not delivered your people at all."
He is completely demoralized by the horrific collateral damage of his obedience.
The system fought back, and it fought dirty. Moses did everything exactly right. He delivered the message. He didn't back down. And the immediate reward was that his own people hated him and were suffering more than ever.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we find perhaps the most crucial theological insight in this entire narrative. Both sources highlight this.
Which is what?
Well, there is a very common unspoken assumption that when you obey a higher calling, or when you finally step into your true purpose, the universe will simply align.
The obstacles will vanish.
Right, that the path will be clear. But Exodus 5 completely shatters that illusion. The reality presented here is that obedience often causes a massive disruption that initially makes conditions far worse.
The delay between the promise of liberation and the actual fulfillment of that promise creates a massive vacuum.
And into that vacuum rushes doubt, pain, and a severe testing of faith for everyone involved. As the NAA notes point out, it tests everybody.
The messiness of liberation cannot be overstated. Moses' bold challenge to God demonstrates that the journey out of any oppressive system is fraught with setbacks.
Moses had no idea what the grand strategy was.
He didn't know about the plagues that were coming or the parting of the sea.
All he knew in that specific moment was that his obedience seemed to have produced unmitigated disaster.
It requires a tremendous amount of resilience to hold on to a promise when the immediate tactile reality looks exactly like defeat.
It really does.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Why do these ancient brick quotas and diplomatic protocols matter to us today?
It's a great question.
I think it taps into a deeply universal human experience. Have you ever tried to do the right thing? Or finally decided to step into a new, healthier purpose? Maybe setting a difficult boundary, leaving a toxic work environment, or confronting a hard truth, only to find that things blow up and get significantly harder at first.
That is the Exodus 5 experience.
Exactly. When the established systems in our lives are challenged, they always push back. And they often push back brutally, attempting to exhaust us into submission.
This raises an important question to carry with you. We've talked about the ancient strategy of weaponized exhaustion, filling the day with so much labor that the people couldn't hear the promise of freedom.
Right.
Consider the modern equivalence of that daily quota. In an era of algorithmic productivity tracking, endless digital connectivity, and the constant pressure to perform and produce, are we being subjected to a contemporary form of exhaustion tactics?
Is that heavy thought?
Are the endless micromanaged demands on your attention functioning like Pharaoh's brick quotas, keeping you so perpetually drained that you literally do not have the mental margin to listen to the calling of a higher purpose?
That is a brilliant and unsettling parallel. And it also begs the question about identity. When you're under that immense pressure, do you unconsciously adopt the identity given to you by your oppressors, like calling yourself their servant? Or do you hold on to the identity given to you by your liberator?
It's the ultimate test of who you belong to.
If we are constantly scrambling to gather our own straw just to meet the algorithm's daily quota, we might be too exhausted to even realize there's a wilderness festival waiting for us. We have to ruthlessly protect our mental and spiritual margin.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for walking through the deep historical and psychological layers of this text with us today. It is a powerful reminder that the struggle for true freedom, whether ancient or modern, is rarely a straight line.
It certainly isn't. Thanks for having me.
And to our audience, God blesses all of you, our listeners, in whatever journey of liberation you are currently navigating. Until next time, keep digging deeper.